But there is one other thing that we have to talk about, and it is always about these state borders, because here's the truth. They're not changing. Politicians are not going to bend. They all see the advantage in doubling down, and the people like these borders, fairly or unfairly, and it is leading to us being a broken country. I've said this before about a whole collection of different separate nations that have a shared bank account as opposed to a national country with states. Sadly, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here on a couple of different fronts, including Mark McGowan has made a big move in the past couple of days that basically all bar New South Wales and Victoria, you'll be able to get free entry into Western Australia. But quite importantly, if you come from New South Wales or Victoria, you will go into quarantine, but you'll be quarantining at home with family members. So it means there will be family reunifications that happen. But he's made it very clear, and remember, he has an election coming up in March, so he will be praying for some sort of a little spike somewhere to justify shutting the borders again, considering that it works so successfully in Queensland, so successfully in the Northern Territory, and has worked politically so successfully to this point. And he's made that threat even when he was telling people that they're going to get to start to see their families again.
All this year, we've seen how quickly things can change, and I will not hesitate to adapt our measures to protect the health of Western Australians. This includes reintroducing the hard border or delaying our move to the controlled border.
So if there's one person in Australia who, sadly, politically speaking, is going to be praying for a surge somewhere else, remember, Jacinda Ardern shut Auckland down with 4 cases. 4 cases. Queensland used as a justification to keep 10 million people out of Queensland. 1 case that was connected to a known cluster. So we all know how the politics of this plays. We can't fight it anymore. We can't debate it anymore. We know where people stand on this. So we'd be foolish to, we can argue the rights and wrongs of it, but we know where people stand on this, which is why politicians will play the games that they will. But we don't know what the methodology is about when the borders lock down again. Now, in New South Wales, they need to bring that Victorian border down now. It's very ridiculous that they're arguing that the northern border must come down immediately, but the Victorian border, well, that can stay around for a little bit longer, when, of course, they are at duck-egg cases again today.
We've demonstrated our system is resilient and coping with those outbreaks that come up. Victoria hasn't yet passed that test. And to be frank, neither has Queensland or WA.
Now, politically, another thing you need to watch for now is state governments who run up the scoreboard, build the political capital with the closed borders. When they bring them down, what they are going to do is to use their incumbency to basically be Santa. Santa, not just this month, next month, but for many months to come. Perfect example of that is in Victoria. Now, you've just seen a damning documentary. You know and I know that the failure of public administration in Victoria led to the second wave that killed 800 people and had 5 million people locked in their house for months after month after month. So what are state governments going to do? Well, you get to, whenever you're in a little bit of trouble, say that something's going to be eased next week and it'll get slowly better and better and better, and then there'll be little mercies where you can now stand up while having a beer versus sitting down having a beer. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today for the press conference. It was 20 people who could gather yesterday. I'm here to announce it's 30 from next week. There's lots of positive announcements to come in the next little while, and little positive buy-offs as well, like the one in Victoria today, where they're going to help pay for your kids' school, your kids' weekend sport. Have a look.
For their physical health, for their mental health, for the mental health of their parents, we need kids back out and about. We don't want cost to be a barrier to getting kids back and active.
Now, it is vitally important as well that we deal with the deep scars of this separation by state stuff that has been going on for the past few months. It is desperately successful. I understand this, but it leaves scars. Now, I have deliberately said, even at the highest point of criticism about the Victorian government, that I have no beef at all with the Victorian people. I think the idea of viewing our fellow Australians as diseased or potentially diseased is pretty nasty. And there's a piece today that was written by literally the World Affairs editor of The Age. This is somebody who is supposedly a big internationalist, but has said this. Now, she's got a kid apparently in Queensland, but says, I don't want to go visit him because I'm one of the lucky ones who kept their job through the tough times, and I do have holidays owing next year, but I don't feel like spending my discretionary income in a state that exploited the sufferings of my own political gain. We've been lectured to enough by our own state government about staying the course. We do not need bonus feedback about sloppy habits from other premiers. The big job that the Prime Minister has in front of him, and the big job that anyone with a national footprint has in front of them, is to reunite us as a country. We need to see as much movement of political leaders between states. We need to see national cabinets being held in different states as fast as possible. We need to see visitation that is happening in central Melbourne, in central Sydney as fast as possible, because while interpersonally there'll be water under the bridge, there are people who are jack of somebody who does not live in their state telling them what to live. It's a lesson well and truly learnt, including by myself, in the past 24 hours and in lots of other places, okay? So that's the reality of the Australian electorate right now, and Australia, sadly, right now, tonight, a broken country, a collection of separate nations with a shared bank account. We need to get on top of that, because your Medicare card, before COVID, during and after, still worked. That's paid for by everyone else in every other state, okay? Don't just think your state is the one that is propping everyone up, or the one that somehow is the exception to the rule. We've got to get back to Australians first. That's going to take years for us to be able to reunite around. So bring on the, some national sporting achievement or something like that that's going to get us back cheering on somebody winning the Australian Tennis Open or something in January of next year. Now,